আমরা শুরু করছি আমাদের মূল সেমিনার চ্যালেঞ্জেস টু ইন্ডিয়ান ডেমোক্রেসি জয়েন্টলি অর্গানাইজড বাই ইন্ডিয়ান অ্যাসোসিয়েশন অ্যান্ড ওপিনিয়ন টাইমস। আমাদের মধ্যে আমাদের বিজনেস সেশন যিনি শুরু করেছেন তিনি পরিচয় করিয়েছেন রাজ্যের প্রাক্তন অ্যাডভোকেট জেনারেল মাননীয় শ্রীযুক্ত জয়ন্ত মিত্র মহাশয়, আজকে সেমিনারের প্রথম বক্তা। স্যার
নমস্কার। আমার বলা উচিত বাংলায়, বাঙালি বলে, কিন্তু যে সাবজেক্ট নিয়ে বলবো সেটা বাংলায় কতখানি বলতে পারবো আমি জানি না। মনে রাখবেন, আমি বাংলা স্কুলে পড়েছি, বাংলা কলেজে পড়েছি, সুতরাং বাঙালি হিসেবে বাংলা ভাষাই বলা উচিত আমার। কিন্তু আপনারা আমাকে মার্জনা করবেন, আমি ইংরেজিতেই বলবো, কারণ কনস্টিটিউশন, ল, এগুলো গত 55 বছর ধরে আমি ইংরেজিতেই বলে আসছি। কাজেই বাংলা ভাষার সঙ্গে এই ব্যাপারে টেকনিক্যাল টার্মসে আমি একটা খুব বেশি সরগরম নই, সেই জন্যে আপনারা মার্জনা করবেন, আমি ইংরেজিতে বলবো, আস্তে আস্তেই বলবো। আমাকে বসে বলতে বলা হয়েছিল, কিন্তু আমি বললাম দেখুন, গত 55 বছর তো দাঁড়িয়েই বলছি, কোর্টে তো বসতে দেয় না। এই জজ সাহেবরা বসে আছেন, আমরা যদি বসে বলি তখন বলবেন স্ট্যান্ড আপ। সে কাজেই আমরা সেই স্কুলের দিকে ফিরে যাই, যে যখন হেডমাস্টার মশাই বা স্কুলের টিচার বলতেন স্ট্যান্ড আপ, সেই রকম অবস্থাই আমাদের। কাজে আমি দাঁড়িয়েই বলছি এবং ইংলিশে বলছি, আপনারা আমাকে মার্জনা করবেন সেই জন্য। The subject that I want to speak on is a very topical subject, namely the election and the process of election. This I thought to be the proper subject to speak on because of what had happened during the last 2 weeks or so has made us very conscious about our rights, duties, obligations as citizens of this country. Before I go into the subject as such, please allow me to reminisce about the glorious past of India when India acquired independence. I feel that one of the major challenges in Indian democracy today is the process of election and proper administration and control of electoral machinery. Recent incidents in connection with Panchayat election, and in fact prior thereto, the municipal election in West Bengal have eloquently, and I should say violently, demonstrated the urgent requirement of rethinking of the process of election and electoral machinery installed and working in our country. Before I dwell on the subject matter of today's discussion, I thought a short introduction by way of reminiscing on the story of the birth and infancy of a nation then newly born would be apposite. Many of you perhaps were not born, and perhaps even if you were born, you were too young to remember those days. I also faintly recollect because I was also in my toddling infancy. Our forefathers, who were people of great foresight and full of spirit of idealism, dreaming of a Mohan Bharat and Sonar Bangla, signed the Constitution of India on 24 January 1950. The Constitution was signed by 284 members of the Constituent Assembly, which included persons of the stature of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, Dr. Shyama Prasad Mukherjee, Dr. Kailashnath Garju, and many others. The constitution was signed by 284 members, as I told you, and of the Constituent Assembly. And on that day, they unanimously elected, under Article 380 of the Constitution, Dr. Rajendra Prasad as the interim president till election of regular president. On that day, the President, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, declared Jana Gana Mana as the national anthem of India, and also declared that Vande Mataram, which had played a vital and inspiring part in India's struggle for independence, shall have equal status as that of Jana Gana Mana. We as Bengali, we are very proud of it, that two of the national anthems selected by the then President of India happened to have born in Bengal. As we are well aware, on the 26th of January 1950, we the people of India gave ourselves a constitution and resolved to constitute India into a sovereign democratic republic. Please remember, these were the only three objects which were in the resolution. Sovereign democratic republic. On that day, the Constituent Assembly, which was responsible for framing the Constitution, was transformed into a provisional Parliament of India and functioned as such till 5th March 1952. Whereafter, the regular Parliament came to be constituted in April 1952. In the wake of the first general election held under the new Constitution between October 1951 and March 1952. Dr. Rajendra Prasad, who was acting as the interim president, entered upon the office on 13th May 1952 as the first regularly elected president of independent India. As I have told you, the Constitution originally contained in its preamble the resolution to constitute India as a sovereign democratic republic. Only in 1976, under the 42nd Amendment to the Constitution, the preamble was altered slightly and were added there the words, "We the people of India solemnly resolve to constitute India as a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic." So until 1976, our resolution, or at least we, the people of India, did not resolve to constitute India as a socialist, secular republic. It was only sovereign democratic republic. So we became sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic in the year 1976. And that is a very momentous occasion, I personally feel, because the two words which were added to our preamble were of tremendous importance, and that has assumed more importance over the years, namely secular and socialist. It was a significant resolution to introduce in the preamble to the Constitution the additional and salutary concepts of socialism and secularism. Consequent upon India being proclaimed as a democratic republic, we have adopted the parliamentary form of government as it is in vogue in the United Kingdom. Indian Parliament consists of bicameral legislatures, consisting of the President and two houses of then known as the Council of States and the House of the People. This is under Article 79 of the Constitution. Under Article 80 of the Constitution, the Council of States consists of 12 members to be nominated by the President from persons having knowledge of literature, science, and social services, and not more than 238 representatives elected by the members of the Legislative Assembly of the states in accordance with the system of proportional representation by means of single transferable vote. More importantly, Article 81 of the Constitution provides that the House of the People, or the Lok Sabha as we call it, shall consist of not more than 530 members chosen by direct election from territorial constitutions of the state and not more than 20 members to represent the union territories to be chosen in such manner as the President by law may provide. I am giving you this preliminary introduction because one should know first as to what the election is about. Where is the election to be held? In which body the elected people will sit? So I am introducing this with reference to the provisions of the Constitution. Article 168 speaks of the constitution of the state legislatures. For every state there shall be a legislature consisting of the governor and the house, and one house being the legislative assembly. Some of the states, I think 7 states, have got 2 houses, but West Bengal has got only 1 house. The legislative assembly of each state shall consist of not more than 500 and not less than 60 members. Parliament is 538, so far as the states are concerned, not more than 500 and not less than 60 members. Chosen by direct election from territorial constituencies of the state. This is under Article 170 of the Constitution. As you are aware, each state is divided into territorial constituencies in the manner laid down in Article 170, sub-article 2 of the Constitution. Now we come to the important aspect of election to Parliament and to the state legislatures. Under Article 324 of the Constitution, the superintendence, direction and control and preparation of the electoral rolls and conduct of elections to Parliament and these state legislatures of each of the state and of the elections to the offices of the President and the Vice President of India is vested in a commission known as the Election Commission. I think we, the people of India, must know this very important functionary, a functionary which enforces the provisions of the constitutions in terms had been laid down in the Constitution. We sometimes, so to say, ignore the importance of this particular office. But as I shall go on and let you know that this particular office for the purpose of election is the most important office. In fact, it is more important than the court. It is more important than the legislature. It is more important than the government. Under Article 324, sub-article 2 of the Constitution, such election commission consists of the chief election commissioner. I am talking of the center. Chief election commissioner and such number of other election commissions as the President may decide. These provisions also show that there is in the Constitution that before every election to the Legislative Assembly in any state, the President may appoint such regional commissioner as he may consider necessary to assist the Election Commission in performance of its duties and functions. In pursuance of these, the election commissions are appointed also in the states. I shall come to it afterwards. Under Article 328, the Constitution has empowered state legislatures also to make provisions with respect to all matters in connection with the election to the state legislatures, including preparation of electoral rolls and all other matters necessary for securing a proper, smooth and legal election. The two of the most important acts which have come into existence soon after the independence are the Representation of People Act of 1950 and 1951. These were the acts which were framed by the Parliament for the purpose of enabling the state, the center and the state governments to implement the provisions of the constitutions in the matter of election. Representation of People Act 1950 and of 1951, which are two very important legislations as I have told you, was brought into existence soon after we gave ourselves the Constitution. These acts have undergone various amendments in order to meet various problems which arose in due course of time in working out the provisions of the Constitution. You know, we have been told, we had been studying law in college and university, that law is always slow. The society moves faster. So society advances and the law follows it in order to accommodate the various ramifications which social orders throw up. So the law always comes afterwards. So in this case also, after these two acts were framed, Representation of People Act 50 and 51, over the years there had been various amendments in this as the country went on experimenting with election. These acts contain provisions, detailed provisions with regard to holding of elections in parliament and state legislatures, including appointment of chief electoral officers in the states, preparation and revision of electoral rolls for parliamentary and assembly constituencies, disqualifications for membership of parliament and state legislatures, conduct of election commencing from nomination of candidates, then general procedure for election, the poll, counting of votes and publication of electoral rolls. The entire gamut of these activities are within the jurisdiction of the Election Commission. So that is why I said that remember that Election Commission is a very important person in so far as elections are concerned. And as I presently shall show you, this importance is not only in respect of the Chief Election Commissioner who is holding election to the Parliament or to the state legislature. Election Commissioner's importance continues in the matter of election in the panchayats, in the municipal bodies. There have been specific provisions in respect of that. The Constitution of India contains specific provisions for elections to panchayats, the municipalities and cooperative societies. These were not there originally when the Constitution was framed. These provisions were inserted in the Constitution by way of amendment from time to time. Part 9 of the Constitution pertaining to panchayats were inserted by 73rd Amendment in 1993. Part 9A covering municipalities were brought into the Constitution by 83rd Amendment in 2000. And Part 9B of the Constitution in respect of cooperative societies were inserted by 97th Amendment in 2012. These provisions having been incorporated in the Constitution, the election to these bodies became a part of the constitutional duty of the authorities, specific authorities concerned. And implementation of the provisions of this assumed tremendous importance because it is in a higher pedestal than the performance of a legislative function. It is a constitutional function that these persons will be performing. The West Bengal State Election Commission Act came into force in March 1994. This act provides matters relating to the constitution of the State Election Commission. I have talked about the Central Chief Election Commissioner and the Central Election Commission. Now this is the State Election Commission. Each of the states has got an election commission which conducts the election in the local bodies, like the panchayats, like the municipal bodies. This act provides matters relating to the constitution of State Election Commission for superintendence, direction and control of the preparation of electoral rolls and for conduct of election to the panchayats and municipalities. From the date of enactment of these acts, the State Commission started functioning and had conducted panchayat general election in the state of West Bengal in 1998, 2003, 2008, 2013 and 2018, and lastly in 2023. The reason why I am drawing your attention to this, I will request you to think of the elections which took place in 2000, starting from 1998. Whether I don't remember having met this kind of disturbance which we experienced this time. I have got a point on that. I shall come back to it also. Panchayat election and election to the municipalities are conducted under the supervision of the State Election Commission, having the exclusive jurisdiction in the matter of superintendence, direction and control of the preparation of electoral rolls for and conduct of all elections to the panchayats or the municipalities, as the case may be. This is under Article 243K and 243ZA of the Constitution, which were all brought in by way of amendment subsequently. In terms of Article 243K and 243ZA of the Constitution, the same powers are vested in the State Election Commission as the Election Commission of India under Article 324. The State Election Commissions, I am now emphasizing on this because we had rather unfortunate experience very recently about it. In terms of, the State Election Commissions are to function independently of the concerned state government. Please note this. The State Election Commissioners are to function independently of the concerned state government in exercise their powers of superintendence, direction and control of all elections and preparations of electoral rolls for and the conduct of all elections to the panchayats and municipalities. The State Election Commissions in respect of the election to panchayats and municipalities and the Election Commission of India in respect of election of in the state legislature and to the parliament are invested with and expected to exercise supreme authority in the matter of conduct of elections, which include preparation of electoral rolls, superintendence, direction, control of all elections in their respective area of operation. This means, and this is important, that from the date of publication of notification by the state government announcing the date of the election up to the date of the last result coming out of the election, it is the State Election Commission which controls complete authority in the matter of running of the election. So if anything goes wrong in course of the election, you know where to put, in whose door you are to put the blame for. The state, one must emphasize this over and over again, that the State Election Commission is not under the jurisdiction once he is appointed and once the date of the election is announced by way of a notification by the state government. The State Election Commission is totally independent of the state government. It is not to listen to anything that the state government says. It is not to abide by any of the directions the state government makes. It is the sole authority of the conduct of the election is with the State Election Commission. This means that from the date of the publication of notification by the government declaring the date of election till the date of publication of results of the election under the law, it is the Election Commission of India in respect of parliamentary election and elections in the state legislatures, and the State Election Commission in respect of the election in the state panchayats and state municipalities, who will have the last say and the final authority. This means that the central government in respect of the parliamentary and legislative assembly elections in the states and the state government in respect of elections to the panchayat and municipalities in the states are mandatorily required to be rendered full assistance and cooperation by the state so as to enable the election commission, State Election Commission, to perform its duties properly. That is the constitutional duty of the state. So much so that if the state government does not render all assistance and full cooperation to the State Election Commission in the conduct of election as defined in the Constitution, to the panchayats or municipalities, it will be deemed that the state government had failed to discharge its constitutional obligation, and this will entitle the State Election Commission to approach the High Court and the Supreme Court, or High Court of the concerned state or the Supreme Court, and thereafter the Supreme Court, for a writ of mandamus to compel the state government concerned to render all cooperation and extend all assistance to the State Election Commission to enable it to fulfill its constitutional mandate. It has been so held repeatedly by different Supreme Courts of India and by our own High Court. In other words, what happens is this, that in the matter of conduct of election, I am taking of the panchayat election or municipal election in the state. In the event the State Commission finds that they are not getting the full cooperation of the state government in the matter of providing security for the electors, in the matter of providing ETVs, in the matter of CCTV, in the matter of providing sufficient number of officers for the purpose of manning the places of election. If it is so found, then the Election Commission will first tell the state that this is what I need and you are obliged to do it. You are bound to comply with my direction. If the state does not do that, then the Election Commission is entitled to go to the court and ask for mandamus against the state, complaining that the state is not performing their duties, not helping me, not assisting me, not cooperating with me. Therefore, pass an order directing the state to do so. This is exactly what happened at the time of T.S. Session. Perhaps you will remember in respect of the central election. This is exactly what happened in the case of Mrs. Mira Pandey, who was appointed in West Bengal as a chief election commission. They did not buckle under the pressure of the state. They went on remaining straight. They wanted whatever was needed for a peaceful election. When they did not get it, they approached the court. The court directed the state to provide this on the threat of contempt of court, and then only the state provided this. There was no problem with election at that time. So it becomes, the point I am emphasizing is this: it is extremely important in the matter of holding an election that the State Election Commission should be straight as a ramrod, not to be buckled by anything. He is only concerned with the interest of the electors. He is concerned with the safety of the polling officers. He is concerned with whether security is being provided all over so as to hold a peaceful election. And if he does not get it, then he is entitled to approach the court and get it done. I will request you to think of this situation and apply it in the present state. In my view, for holding an election successfully, whether it is parliamentary or in the state legislature or in municipalities or in panchayats, one needs a strong election commission who will not be subservient to the center or state government. This is what I said. Who will be able to take bold decisions in the interest of the electorate and to implement the same courageously. An election commission who will not cater to the whims and fancies of the state government. In other words, an election commission with a spine which does not bend or break under pressure. And I've told you about Mr. Session and Mira Pandey. Now, I go, keeping this in the background, I go to the question of electoral reforms. It's a very complicated job. It's an extremely involved, and it needs a lot of facts and figures, etc. But the subject of electoral reforms is vast. And in a country like India, with a population of 138 crores, now I think it's 140 crores, made up of numerous races, castes, creed and religion, it is no doubt a humongous task to conduct and supervise the process of elections, starting from Zilla Parishad, Panchayat Samiti, municipalities and cooperative societies to the state legislature and the parliament. It's a huge responsibility of the Election Commission, central or state, to handle any difficult job creditably and smoothly. There are no doubt there are very many issues regarding our election law and process which need immediate attention. We do not have sufficient time to discuss all the problems which directly affect you and me and which have caused and still causes a lot of concern, anxiety and debate in public and in media. As citizens exercising our constitutional right of adult franchise, we are all concerned about what has come to be known as criminalization of politics. Nexus between the politicians and criminals has taken root in our polity. Are in a quandary who to vote for. Do we vote to elect as our representative a person who turns out to be a black marketeer or a cow smuggler or a person involved in coal scam or a rapist or a murderer? According to a survey at the time of last general election, and this is very important, at the time of the survey, at the time of the last general election to Bihar Legislative Assembly, out of a total 3,450 candidates, 1,038 had criminal background. In November 2005, out of 1,613 candidates who contested election, 453 had criminal background. In many cases for heinous crimes like rape, murder, dacoity and extortion. You and I are called upon to vote for people like that. In general, I am talking about. Then you are in a quandary. Should I vote for? If I vote for a person concerned, he turns out to be a person against whom numerous criminal matters, proceedings are pending. Then what happens? That is why the nota came into existence. Supreme Court delivered judgment saying if you do not want to vote anybody, don't vote anybody. Put a cross mark against that particular. Now, I mean, I have given you the statistics, but why go far? Look at what is happening in our state. Is this what we wanted? I say no. When we gave ourselves the constitution, became a democratic republic, we thought, proudly we thought that now we shall be able to elect our own representatives. And what has happened over the years? This is the degeneration which has taken place. I don't remember in 1998 or 2002, 1 or 2, whether it used to happen. Yes, it started happening at a particular time in our history, in our Bengal's history. Bengal never used to be like this. Bengal used to be a civilized place. And I am sure you will agree with me when I say so, that it used to be the place of seat of culture. People used to vote quietly and to his own choice. But this is not going to happen anymore. I thought that I should read it out to you. In connection with this, I have come across a passage in a seminal work of Mrs. Ramadevi, V.S. Ramadevi and S.K. Mendiratta. The name of the book is How India Votes. That is the title of the book. There is a passage I thought is very apt for today's discussion. This is what he says. But what has caused real concern and anxiety to all is what may be called politicization of criminals. In the early stages, criminals lent their muscle power to the politicians in expectation of a favor in return from those politicians or for money. Eventually, these criminal elements realize that if they could make others win because of their muscle or gun power and the criminal acts, they themselves could win also election and enter the legislatures. And these put an end to their dependence on others. So what happened was this: previously, the politicians were having the muscle power for the purpose of pushing them into the legislature or the parliament. Subsequently, these criminals who had been pushing the politicians thought, why push the politician? I shall push myself. So the criminals have themselves become the candidates for the election. And the result is this: now we find there are so many criminals which have, the persons with criminal records are coming and standing in the election. In fact, Section 8 of the Representation of People Act, this book, Representation of People Act 1950 and 1951, Section 8 has been amended for the purpose of dealing with them. But human ingenuity has no end. So from one side, you stop them from doing something, they get round and they do something else. So now Section 8 of the Representation of People Act now needs amendment for the purpose of meeting the situation that we are facing today. The solution may be by further amending the Representation of People Act 1951. Section 8 of the Act, which provides for disqualification on conviction for certain offences, in my view, is not sufficient to stem the rot I have mentioned. The Election Commission, sharing its concern in the matter, had suggested certain proposals in 1998. It is very interesting. Take a note of this. The Election Commission, sharing its concern in the matter, had suggested certain proposal in 1998. The Law Commission also made recommendation in its 170th report in 1999 on similar lines. Significantly, what happened I shall let you know. Significantly, the parliamentary committee considering the proposal in 2007 in its 18th report submitted on 15 March 2007 did not favor this proposal. So the Law Commission proposed something, Election Commission proposed something for the purpose of ameliorating the situation. The matter went before the parliamentary committee, and the parliamentary committee in 2017 in its 18th report, after considering all, did not favor the proposal. And the reason given, the grounds given, firstly, that in India a person is presumed to be innocent until convicted or found guilty, and B, the false charges are often framed. So now this particular problem has been posed before the Law Commission. Then we'll have to think as to how to, so to say, mend this particular gap. We'll have to repair this particular, I should say, the tear which has taken place. And some kind of solution will have to be brought out for the purpose of dealing with this situation. Mr. Banerjee, no, Mr. Mitra. I often wonder whether this is what our forefathers who framed our constitution and we the people who gave ourselves the constitution ever conceived, that our representation in any of the representative bodies, be it the state legislature or the parliament or any of the local bodies, would be through persons with criminal background. Notwithstanding various attempts on the suggestion of the Law Commission and through court judgments to ameliorate the situation, amendments have been brought in the Representative People's Act and through various others. Now, this has not really solved the problem. The second thing, since I am here to make suggestions, second thing that I will suggest is I do not find any reason why there is no restriction with regard to the candidate offering himself for election with regard to his educational qualification. We as citizens of the constitutional democracy should be concerned with the competence of the people who would be representing us to run and administer the institution to which they are elected. As was observed by the Supreme Court of India, it is only education which gives human beings the ability to discriminate between right and wrong. So this is another suggestion I can put forward. There are various other problems with regard to the money power playing role. I am not going into all that because that will take the whole evening for you. I am not. Lastly, I ask this question to myself. I am taking a note of the frowns on his face, on the face of Mr. Justice Banerjee, who doesn't want me to continue anymore. I take note of it, and I am trying to cut short as much as I can. But only thing I say at the end, and this is from anguish, from the core of my heart, I say, why is it that things have deteriorated to this extent? What has happened in our state? We hang our head in shame. I am not blaming any particular party or a particular group. I am saying, why should it happen? Why should 40 persons lose their life in this state? Is there something amiss in us? This is a question I ask to myself. You ask yourself this question. Only one sentence, one paragraph I read from President Herbert Hoover of America. This is what he said. And I think many of you who are elderly people in this, they will also agree with me. This is what he said. He said that there are old virtues of integrity and truth. There are the old virtues of incorruptible service and honor in public office. There are the old virtues of economy in government, of self-reliance, of thrift and individual responsibility and liberty. There are old virtues in patriotism, real love of the country, and willingness to sacrifice for it. But some of these old virtues are slipping away rapidly from American life. He talked about American life. I say from Indian life. But some of these old virtues are slipping away rapidly from the Indian life. And if they slip too far, the lights will go out in America. I say the lights will go out of India, even if we win the hot and the cold wars. I personally feel that this sums up. I think we should go back to the old virtues. Do not go back, do not go, travel behind, travel back to the olden days, because the science has progressed, everything has progressed. But then again, I think there is some justification in sticking to the old virtues. Being an old man myself, I think this is something backpatting of myself. But I think you will all agree that things have changed since the olden days, and perhaps not for the better. Thank you very much indeed.
কুয়াশা থেকে সত্যের উদ্ঘাটন, পর্দা কিন্তু আমরাই সরাবো।
বন্ধ শিল্পের দরজা থেকে দুর্নীতিযুক্ত শিক্ষায় নিয়োগ। আমাদের প্রশ্নে মুখোশ খসে পড়বে, পেরিয়ে আসবে সত্যের মুখ।
খেলা থেকে রাজনীতি, বাংলা আজ কোথায়?
দেশ থেকে বিদেশ, একদিকে চরম ধনী, একদিকে চরম দারিদ্র্য।